Good morning. For those of you who think that my hacker open bracket s close bracket have has disappeared from my life or that I've been making this up, the hacking, no, I've got to disappoint you. Yesterday he stopped me from using the phrase setup because it has several meanings. This points towards the idea of him being autistic and having learned these things the hard way and often having been tripped up by that in the past. He still controls which emails I get and when I get them. He still controls who I can call or text. And now I need to wait for this thing to pass. Oh no, it's not that loud. He gets many of his ideas apparently from Le Petit Prince, from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, Little Prince. And in this book it says that women need to be cared for. He sees men as providers and women as creatures that need to be tamed, just like this. I think it's a goat in the book. And he has this idea. He has many ideas, but one of his ideas appears to be that if you stop a woman from making a living, she will have no choice but to become provided for by a man. He's been playing with this double meaning of provider, internet provider, and provider as in the way he sees his relationships for many years too. This playing with words, with the various meanings of words, he has been doing this for a long time. And again, I suspect that this points again towards autism because this sort of thing can trip autistic people up, and it's probably tripped him up so many times in the past that he got really ticked off. There's always been this theme also of I do exactly what you want except slightly differently, not the way you intended it, because I interpret things literally or I interpret things differently, quote unquote. He took over, well, this phone and my tablet. No, my tablet not yet, possibly. My phone was already hacked to pieces in Portsmouth, and my tablet got cloned. Apparently, because in June 2023, I suddenly saw that a specific Gmail account, Google account that I use for that tablet, was being accessed from a second source, and that was a Linux computer. And he also took over a computer that he puts me on his network. That's how he controls everything. And how can I prove that? I'm not a hacker. By the way, even if I could prove it, it means zilch to people. I had a trace route in 2010 that showed that my business email traffic was being diverted. You can't take that anyway. You can't take that to the police. They have no idea what it means. They have no idea what they're seeing. Anyway, yeah, this is still going on. I think what he did is he has a vast network, most hackers do, that he had flags on my name that he expected me to start opening new accounts with certain organizations, and that he had one person in, or maybe he had hacked into the company, the organization, or that he knew one person there who would warn him if I tried to open a new account. I'm talking account for which you need ID. And then he automatically also knows which sort of software I use for that, and then it becomes really easy to target someone if you're that kind of hacker. And yeah, this stuff continues to go on. It geared up again in 2023, the hacking, when I again discovered that my tablet's Gmail Google account was being accessed from a second source. That at first happened on. No, actually, I discovered it a little bit later, but that was when there was a lot of interference on my tablet, I noticed. And I think it was 7 July when this showed up. something like that. Stuff has continued to go on. I was applying for going to apply for a job at the end of 2023, and I couldn't because he wanted to do something really, really funny, he thought, on my computer. But the really, really funny things that he thinks he's doing often mean that I can't do things such as apply for a job. Because at the time, I had also, to get away from this, opened yet another secret email account in a location somewhere else that I never ever accessed from where I was living at the time. So he didn't know that I was doing that. He didn't know that I was trying to apply for a job somewhere. So he messed with something which meant that I couldn't continue with that. This is how it goes all the time. This is somebody whose brain works very differently. And it caused a lot of resentment in him in the past. And right now he has some resentment because I left Portsmouth. I'm no longer as much in his reach, in his claws, as I used to be. Yeah, what did you do? You laugh. Many of the things that I've been posting lately, yeah, of course, he sees it as an opportunity to mess with me a little bit more. What can I say? I knew plenty about IT, but I did not foresee that somebody would start picking my locks. It had been going on for years before I finally knew with absolute certainty that this was going on, because he started leaving traces, notes and stuff behind, started moving things, taking things, destroying things, etc. And yeah, you don't expect that. That gave him direct access to my equipment. You don't expect something like that. You don't see that coming. I knew plenty about IT, but I am not a hacker. I'm not a sysop or anything like that. And anyway, even if I were, well, then I might be able to put a stop to it. But you still can't take this to the police because they have absolutely no clue about IT, police officers, and they admit that, most readily admit that, both in the Netherlands and in England. So you're completely, entirely on your own when you have a obsessed hacker on your tail. Whatever exactly this is, whoever exactly this is. Let's not go into that because it makes no difference, does it? In retrospect, I should have stayed in Portsmouth. I made 5 failed escape attempts on zero money from Portsmouth. I tried my best to leave Portsmouth that 5th time with as much money as I could make. And I very deliberately ensured that I would have nothing to return to, because the 4 previous times I had been forced to return because I got stuck. And if you still have a place to go back to, you go back to that place and remain stuck. That I then ended up in a place of gerontophobia and also controlling behaviors was very unfortunate. I blame myself for that. Nobody forced me to move into that place. I did that by myself. But it meant that I had to get out of there. If I'd stayed there, I'd have committed suicide. That place was so awful, that I know I did the right thing. I would have committed suicide if I'd stayed, because that place was just awful. And after so many years of coercive control and other bullshit, what was going on there, this gerontophobic bullshit, would have been the last drop for me. So I needed to get out of there. I really needed that for my own well-being, for my own survival. But yeah, there's one thing that he's not interfering with any longer. There's one thing that he's been interfering with for a long time, which really put the fear of God into me, because just about everything I tried to support myself in Portsmouth, he messed with. He was convinced, he convinced himself, tried to convince me of all sorts of conditions that I had, such as multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder. Was that sheer psychopathy trying to convince me of that? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. With people whose brain works so very differently, I can't tell. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, if you know somebody really well, even then it's probably very hard to tell. So I don't know. Anyway, this is why I started diving into identity, no, personality disorders, and neurodiversity and so on, because I had to know what I was dealing with, and I needed to find out how I could put a stop to this, how I could manage this, because nobody was helping me with this. I left desperate notes. The only person who was willing to help me was my GP. My GP said to me, no, there is nothing that you can do to, there are no medications that you can use to manage, to help somebody with a narcissistic personality disorder that gets out of hand to manage himself. And I also asked him to check into whether a notorious stalker had been released early from prison, because my stalking started at around the time that his first early release possibility came up. But no, he's not in prison. He's still in prison. He's not been released. He's been in prison for life. Uh, he's in prison for life. And he also said that he could give me medication to help me manage my anxiety because of the stalking. My stalker always picked my locks and then went through my bags and so on. For example, left chocolate bars behind and so on. He had this idea. Chocolate bars, of course, there's a mental imagery um, of a sweet stick, so to speak. But it's all about his sweet stick. It's got nothing to do with me. Yeah, what do? You laugh about it because it's also, oh well, yeah, that theme has been going on for years too. Yeah, Ian Drury and the Blockheads. Um, I got a package in Portsmouth once that had been repackaged and also had a sweet stick inside it. I had ordered what he considered biking pants, and he passed me on the street and he said something like looking sexy. No, I was just being practical. I was going for a run. Yeah, I know who this is. I know who this is. But he has a vast network, and his network falls for his whatever he tells them, apparently. Yeah, people, this hasn't stopped yet. This still hasn't stopped. I thought I should let you know that this still hasn't stopped. He even put my weather report. Is this the end of 2023 or 2024? Yeah, this has been going on for nearly 20 years now, so forgive me for not being able to remember the exact date or year when this hacker did certain stuff to me. My weather forecast had me on the West Bank in the Gaza area, yeah, showing that he was targeting me. He sees himself as the wronged party, but he started targeting me, not the other way around. What can I say? When this began, I thought I'll write a book. I write 3 books about this one day, and then I'll make so much money, it'll compensate for everything. But in all honesty, I don't really want to deal with this any longer than I have to. I don't want to write books about this. I want my life back. I want to continue with my life. My life that was cut short when I moved to Portsmouth, basically.